So we're going to talk today about how to boost your staff training. This is us, IMC, and I'm Greg Blackburn, General Manager for the UK. Here we go, how to boost your staff training. Just a quick intro into IMC, who we are. We're a European full-service e-learning delivery company. We've got learning technologies and content. Okay, moving apart from that. So I've got a couple of questions. Are we spending a lot of money on staff training? And do you feel frustrated with the results? And you understand your training needs, but what about the deployment of your training? So today I want to talk about how do we deliver effective corporate learning, and talk about strategies that give bottom line results for both your staff and for your organisation. And we'll use modern technologies to do that, to help people remember what they've learnt, what you've been training them on. And we'll talk about how to implement this into your corporate learning programs. And the last thing is, we'll talk about abandoning traditional learning methods so we can leverage technology and empower our employees to succeed. So we have a need. Increasingly, we're spending a lot of money on training our staff. The question is, are we getting a good return on that investment? And the problem is that people forget. We know from research that people can lose up to 80% of what you've taught them in a training course in up to as little as a week or 2 weeks' time. So we're spending a lot of money on people training, and a lot of people are forgetting a lot of what they've learnt. So you're not getting a good return on investment. We need to increase that ROI. So the cause is the forgetting curve. And that just means that people forget. And we know how much they forget over time. Their memory retention declines over time. And we know roughly the speed and how that happens. And it depends on several factors. So the context of the learning. Did they understand? And how deep was their level of understanding? And how meaningful was the learning to the end user? Of course, if people are learning things and the concepts are way off field, something that they're not really interested in, tax law, for example, I wouldn't remember that. Yeah, I'm going to forget it really quickly. And so we need to think about post-training and follow-up phases. So let's have a look at a typical student's learning journal, an example of what would happen typically. So when we talk about formal learning, we can have a pre-phase to any learning activity. So that we might have an invitation to become part of something. Maybe there's an introduction video. We might even do some pre-modules, and then we move into the actual learning. So there's people do modules, people earn points as they're doing it, and they go through their typical learning journey. At the end, they get a certificate, everyone's happy, I've learned a lot of material. I go back to my workforce, back to my workplace, and this happens. We don't want this to happen. Two-day training course, and a couple of weeks later, I can't remember what it was. And so the forgetting curve looks a bit like this. We have a learning event, and wow, I've learned great stuff. This is really good. I go back to my job, but I'm not applying that stuff, okay? And then somebody asked me to do what it was I got trained to do, and I can't do it anymore. I've forgotten. And so what we want to do, that's what we're talking today about, is boosting our learning. So the solution is to stop this curve from dropping down, we put little boosters in place to keep that curve up. Okay? So we're trying to get from this to this. And we've got a few little tools that we can use, and I'll talk to you about them now. But the question is, what technologies are you using? And are you using the right technology to support your training? We know a little bit about the 70-20-10 rule. And we can see at the end, over here, 10% of formal learning is 20% of monitoring, and we have the largest part of here is where people are learning is on the job. However, we are spending, if you look up here, 80% of our budgets, our current training budgets, learning and development, is spent on the formal learning part here, and only 20% in this area here, but we can see what's going on. Our learners are learning, the majority here, on the job. A little bit of here through mentoring, talking with colleagues and with managers, but the formal learning component over here, where all our money's been spent, is not really it's not giving us the returns that we're looking for. So typically in an organisation, people want to find information, and they have different ways of looking for it. They go to online help, they ring their help desk, talk to technical support, talk to your managers, get on the internet, look at Google. So people are always seeking the information. They've just been sent to a course, but after the course, when I'm back in my desk doing my job, I'm still looking for that information I learnt in the course. So again, we can see in a very short time, the average person will forget a great deal of information they've learned in a very short time of learning it. And so we turn to things like Google or to our colleagues. Or we fill up our help desk with requests. Okay, so let's talk about some solutions. A lot of us are using electronic learning management systems. We need to move past those. Okay, they're really good tools. LMSs are great tools. We should have them. But we need to think about what happens after the training. What happens when we get back to the workforce? We need to move past the LMS and get into the realm of EPSS. And the reason is that we can learn in context. And also spaced repetition, like those little rockets, those little boosters, spaced repetition, the more often you learn something, the more often you hear it, the deeper it's going to go into your memory and the more you're going to remember it, okay? So with modern learning technologies, we can help your people retain the information, the knowledge that they've learned, and we can increase your return on investment in your learning. And we can use modern tools to do that. Okay, so with modern technologies, we're looking at this spaced repetition in learning. Okay, so we can support our employees, we can increase your return on investment, we can help people reduce errors in the workplace. Errors are costly, and they can cost a lot of money. We can help people increase their productivity, unburden your help desk, additional cost savings there, and reduce burnout and employee turnover. Okay. Also practice orientated. We need to be able to have a training, informal learning at the desk where people are working so they can apply it directly to their daily lives. Okay, so I want to introduce to you today some modern learning technologies. I've got three here. There's the IMC Process guide. It's like a personal electronic assistant. IMC Learning Cards, where we break down information. What we do is we take the crux out of a course, we take those core learning components and we put them into these learning cards and make them available to people. And also we have these gamified quizzes, IMC Quiz Biz, with entertaining knowledge transfer. Okay, so the IMC Process Guide, it's an electronic performance support system. Okay, we look at it like a GPS for software. It helps you get help when you need it, okay? It can lead users through complex processes. It helps people reduce errors, and it boosts productivity. The reason it boosts productivity is because if I'm at my desk and say I'm using the SAP interface, it's really complex. Yes, I've been to my training a week ago. Yes, they showed me how to use it. And yes, I passed the test and I got a certificate. But wow, that was a week ago. And this is complicated. And I'm sitting here for ages and I'm getting it wrong and it keeps on giving me errors. with this tool, it can help users, it guides you, it gives you assistance, it helps you fill in the fields, and it can make sure that the data that you're entering in the system is correct. So I feel better about my work, I know what I'm doing, my productivity goes up. So typically when we're stuck at work, we're asking our colleagues or Google, or worse, I'm going to ring the help desk and ask them, I'll put a ticket in the system and sit back and wait for a response. All of these things are taking up somebody else's time and are expensive for your organisations. However, with our process guide, we can support our users while they're at their desk. So we're seeing an example here of a Salesforce. So Salesforce application here, and the process guide is on the side, and it comes up. What we're seeing here is it's showing the first step of 3 in the process, and it gives access or information to the user about the process that they're working on, and it comes up with context-sensitive information. As I jump from different systems, I might go from Outlook to an SAP to something else, some internal developed system. The process guide recognises what system I'm working on, and it gives me the assistance that's required at the time. Okay, so with the process guide, we can deliver training smartly, and we can work across different devices. And it helps end users in their working day lives and their experiences. It gives them the information when they need it, okay? Like a training course is great, you can learn a lot in a training course, yeah? But you don't need it then. You need it when you're back at work, okay? So learning in the training course is a really good solution, but what we need to do is boost your learning, stop that forgetting curve by having a tool like this to give you the information you need when you need it. You don't have to ask your colleagues, you don't have to dig around through the lecture notes. Plus, it's got a very good reporting mechanism, and you can track what your users are doing. And it uses micro-learning, okay? So optimized training materials. And you can rapidly author new content, and you can push it out through the whole organisation. You might have an existing process, and overnight you might decide to change that process because you want to make it more efficient or more complex, and you can make those changes, and you can push that information out through your whole organisation very simply through this tool. You don't need to recall everybody back to have a formal meeting or a formal learning course to update them on the new process. As they're going through their daily work and they see that there's something new, this performance support system can guide them, help them, and give them information about those changes. Plus, I mentioned before the cross-application support. Here's just an idea of some of the applications that a typical user might use. As the user goes through their working day, jumping from one application to another application, the guide gives them the context-sensitive assistance that they need in the time that they need it. And it provides enhanced support. Here we can see an example where a user is actually going to use a help function, and they're actually asking for more specific information about here. So they can do a capture, and it does a screen grab, and they can say, I want more assistance here. And it does a screen grab, it does a shot, and then they can get assistance sent back to them via the tool. It's just another picture of that. Okay, the second technology I'd like to talk to you about is the IMC Learning Cards. This is what they look like. So what we're doing with the IMC Learning Cards is we're minimizing the content. So you've sent your learners out on a course, and they've done the course, they've been certified, they've come back, they're happy. They're back at work now. What we do with these courses, with these cards, is we take the crux, the core components of that course, we put them together in these cards, and we deliver them as an app. The user can access the app anytime they want, and they're doing their job, and they just get a bit stuck. What was that again? And they just pull their app out, oh yeah, that's right, that's what they said I had to do. So it gives them these short learning bites, these help and assistance when they need it. So the major advantages are on the screen, so it's direct learning. There's no digression. They can have this access to this material anytime, at any place. Again, it helps with their performance because they learn exactly what they want when they need it. It's practice orientated. People are learning how and applying this knowledge at their work as they're doing it directly. It's flexible. It can be used on mobile and for e-learning modules. We use it like a digital index card box. And it's well organized, okay? So we can find information very quickly. There's not a great deal of information there. We're not overloading people anymore. It's just the core components really well organized. So just a couple of examples of what these things look like. Unfortunately, this is in German, but you can see we're looking at, what is that? It's a clothing shop. And we can choose very quickly what area I'm looking for. And when I go into each area, so I've done my training in this field, and now they give me the core components about this is doing body measurements. And so again, really quickly, I can see what was that information they taught me about doing body measurements when a customer comes into the store. And this is another example. Again, you can see it's all really well organized. I can find the area that I want to get to. I click on one, and then up comes the information in the next card. Another example, using it on different devices. Okay, and now moving on to the last technology, IMC QuizBiz. So, games, quizzes, and learning by doing that. It's a gamification quiz, and it helps support long-time learning in an entertaining manner. Okay, it's funny, it's enjoyable. You can see by the characters, it's a motivational, fun way of learning. Okay. So the boss is going to be happy because the learners are learning. They're using these tools because they're fun, they're engaging, and the learners are happy because they're having fun at their job, playing these games, but the games are really serious and they're learning how to do their job by being involved with them. So I'm just going to go through and give you a couple of screenshots. And we can see that as we're going through this game, we're picking up some experience points here. When you get things right or wrong, they're picked up here. And also we've got some quizzes. And so we've got a bit of a picture to make it a bit more entertaining. We've got a quiz, and we've got a selection area here. This is in German. This just means you can go back and forwards on the bottom here. And so if we can apply these new learning technologies into our workforce, we can still utilize our traditional training methods, but by using these new learning technologies, we're going to stop this forgetting curve from dropping. These little boosters, these rockets, are going to lift the learning curve back up, and the end result is your help desk guys are going to have nothing else to do. And that's it.